Good day, everybody. Well, I'm doing a video about my experiences at Furnal Equinox. And I did my nonfiction panel near the end of the convention, and it went rather well. I think I'd say about 10 to 12 people showed up, and some of the people watching this are probably showed up there, and I thank you very much for your support in that, and I hope you learned something very interesting, and hope to continue to have your patronage. So, other than the panel, I did really enjoy Furnal Equinox. I think as far as conventions go, it is absolutely, positively the easiest travel convention for me. From where I am located, getting to the convention is super simple. You hop on the train, you get off the train, you get to the hotel, and it's actually a lot easier than I originally thought it was, because apparently on the detached hotels, which I was on one of them, I was in what's called the One King, which was about 12 minutes north by foot to the convention center and the convention itself. That was on the harbor, the Weston Harbor, quote unquote, castle place. It's actually easier to. There is a connection between the main train that I was taking and the subway from that same Union Station, which I didn't know going in. So when I went in, I actually got off the train, went out to the street, was going to walk a little bit. It was raining a little bit damp, not too bad though. And there was a guy in a taxi going, it's like, hey, taxi's ready. And so if that person wasn't, if there wasn't a taxi sitting there just kind of waiting for a customer, I probably would have walked it. But I'm like, you know what? I've been on the train for a bit, and I'll just sit back there and, give this guy some money. So luckily I did, because, I wasn't completely familiar with the direction I was going, and I didn't want to wander around after dark with my luggage for like a few blocks in a city I don't know. So, went really well. I got there pretty easily. And then basically got my registration that very night. So the interesting part was that my first night flubs, I went the wrong way. So in order to get to the convention, I had to walk south for about 12 minutes to get to the harbor. And I went the wrong way the first night. And luckily I did my research a little bit before I went, and basically because I was, with a group of people, and they were like, hey, we're going to go to the sushi place on Friday night, and it's called Spring Sushi. And I'm like, okay, cool. So in order to understand where it was, I did do my research and searched for the Spring Sushi place. And then I looked at the Google Street View to get a look at the surrounding area to know what I was looking at. Obviously, we were going to take the subway to it, but I wanted to just know what the area looked like, just in case, I had to get there by other means. So I got a layout of that land, and as I was walking and going man, I don't see anything that looks like a coast yet, and I must have been walking for 12 minutes, and that's how long it's supposed to take. And eventually I saw that plaza area where the Spring Sushi area is, and I'm like, oh no, this looks familiar. And then I look around at the neon lights and the things, and I move forward a little bit past a sort of there's some sort of station thing that's there, and it kind of obstructs the view to the building. But then I moved past that a little bit, and then kaboom, there it is, Spring Sushi. And I'm like, oh boy. So now I turn around and I walk back. Now it's going to take me a half hour to get there, because I got to walk 12 minutes back and then 12 minutes beyond there. So that was at least I knew which direction to go when I left the hotel from then on out. But It wasn't bad. Like, honestly, like, it's a straight shot. Like, it's like you just go down, boom, you're there. Just go up, boom, you're there, right? Not too difficult. And the fact that, the train could lead to a subway, which could bring you right to the hotel instead of having to go up and do that thing, even better. It's kind of crazy how, like, walkable and easy it is to utilize, especially from, my position here. I only had to drive like 10 minutes to the train station and then take the train across the border. So crossing the border, first time out of America, and what a time for to be the first time out of America, especially given how our federal government's ticking every other country off. But yay, you got to get out there sometime. Can't wait on the perfect circumstances. I was supposed to be at Furnal Equinox in 2020. But obviously something happened before I left the country for the first time. So 5 years later, we got to go. And I'm very glad that I did. The layout of the land was very nice. There's a lower area called the dockside. There's like a middle area that has sort of it has a very nice sort of ballroom which was kind of like the zoo sort of area, the general, like, you can sit, and relax area. Had a nice view of the harbor, sort of like a sort of a panoramic view, sort of with the glass and stuff like that. So it was very nice. So, there is the gaming. Now, I will say this: if you are a big video gamer and you go to the convention and you really like playing video game arcade games at the convention, Furnal Equinox is not going to be for you. I think it was like, it had great board games, like a lot of good board games. Like, it kind of merged the room into one, where it's like there was some electronic gaming and there was some board gaming, but I think the primary focus was on board gaming, which is great. But if you're like a person who likes playing like video game tournaments or like major video game things, the very, very, very slim down pickings as far as that goes. There was like some Melee and some like Rock Band, and that was about it. Probably about 4 screens. Like, I think there were like 2 projector screens and like 2 islands of like 4 TVs or something like that. After seeing like Furry Weekend Atlanta's spread, very hard to come back from that. And Midwest Fur Fest spread's pretty good too. They took in Midwest Fur Fest, they took what used to be the artist alley and they made that into the gaming room, and there's like room after room of like cabinets and stuff like that. And obviously for Furry Weekend Atlanta, there's no contest that is like the freaking like holy crow. There's like cabinets and it's like wall to wall and it's like an entire floor of stuff, and it was insane. This one obviously not so much, but I don't go there for video games, so that's fine by me. And a lot of people, like people I know, usually game in the room if they want to go play games with friends. So not really that big of a deal, but just something to be aware of. I will say this: it was very, very easy to get to places to eat, and a lot of good eateries nearby, a lot of variety, which is something that like Midwest Fur Fest has trouble with, and I would even say Anthrocon has some trouble with it too. Like, the ability to get to different places with different eateries and stuff was so good. Like, getting to that spring sushi place, for instance, I said I walked out in the street for like 12 minutes north. But the interesting thing is, like, I could have went to the Union Station, or I could have went, honestly, like, if I was at the hotel room, I could have went to the subway right directly in the hotel room and just went north. And the interesting thing is that the subway stops, and it's definitely a winter city because Toronto is in Ontario, and as a Buffalo person, like, I know how harsh the winters can be. Very much but the cool thing is they definitely designed the city with that in mind, right? That it's like it's going to be cold, it's going to be harsh. There's ways that you can, like, the cool thing is, like, I learned when I was leaving that there was a connection to the subway in the hotel's basement, because the hotel staff told me when I was leaving. I'm like, oh, I'm going to the train station. It's like, she's like, oh, well, why don't you just take the the elevator down a floor, and there's actually a back room that goes to the subway that connects to the train station. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. That would have been useful to know coming in. But it's cool to think, it's like, okay, I could be sitting in my hotel room, right? And then I could go to that bottom floor, get on the subway, go north, and then basically get off at the Spring Sushi place, because like it's the Spring Sushi's like in this larger, like, sort of mall building that has like multiple floors, and like the Spring Sushi place is like up on one of the other like up on the like the third or fourth floor, and has like an entryway up there. So, but basically the subway stops, and then basically you basically walk up go up the escalator / go up the stairs, and then you find yourself inside the building. Like, you're not being pushed out onto the street and then have to go into a double doors building. You are in the building, and you can choose to leave the building or you can stay in the building. So basically, to get to my hotel room, to get to the Spring Sushi place, I never had to go outside, right? You would never have to go outside. You can just go down, go to there, take the subway, go up to the thing. So it would be an entirely indoor experience, which is freaking neat. I've been to some major metropolitan areas, but most furry conventions don't take place in a downtown proper, other than for, Anthrocon in Pittsburgh. Like, it's a super downtown area, but I'll say this: Pittsburgh is very disconnected, as far as, like, you have to kind of move out on the street for a lot of things. I don't think there's, as far as like public transportation goes, I've never been too savvy on the connection, and getting from one hotel to the thing is a lot of walking, and not a lot of good landmarks, right, to get from one place to the other. It seems kind of very spread out and not very connected. Toronto is extremely connected, and I'll say, just for that experience alone, it's definitely like there's no reason I wouldn't go back to that, because it was very, very easy, and very easy experience, very easy to get in and get out. The only tricky experience was obviously doing the currency exchange beforehand. But it wasn't that bad too. So it also helped a lot too, was the cost. With the cost a little bit was, obviously I'm going from US dollars to Canadian dollars. So eating out was like 30 to 40 Canadian per meal. And it's like, but then if you do the translation, it's about a third. So, and gratuity for the most part was usually included. Especially when I was with the large group at Spring Sushi, it's like, hey, it's like gratuity is included because you're such a large group. We added the gratuity already, so you didn't have to like add additional tip on top of it. It was like an all-you-can-eat sushi bar, and it was like, I ended up after taxes and service fees and all that, I think it was like 55 Canadian, which is like $40, which is not 40 bucks, which isn't bad for all-you-can-eat sushi. Learned that I liked certain sushis really, really good. So don't go out to eat all that much. So it was a very interesting experience. Other than that, the fursuit parade, I think I should talk about that a little bit. So I suited on Saturday, and that was the only day I suited. Mostly because I wasn't in the hotel. And on top of that, one of the things also is that if you are in the main hotel, elevator con, just like any other elevator con, particularly in the North Tower. So there's a North Tower and there's a South Tower on the main hotel. It's because it's a quote unquote castle. From my understanding, like there's not there's sort of new, more spiffy rooms in the South Tower. And the North Tower, there's sort of standard hotel rooms, but there's more of them. So what ended up happening a lot during the weekend, and especially unfortunately for the normies who wanted to use the hotel space, that northern hotel, the northern elevator line would get pretty gnarly pretty quickly, to the point where the convention sort of outgrowing its position. The convention basically capped the attendance this year. They basically stopped it, and it was they basically had a sold out convention. And that was to the detriment of locals too, because the interesting thing is like locals try to get in when they see the convention happening, and like when we went out to eat at the one pub area nearby, there was like two normies, and one of them was like, oh, he tried to get in, and like they yelled at him, and it's like, oh well, they probably didn't yell at him. They probably were like, sorry, there's no at the door attendee. There's no at the door this year because too many of us this year. So unfortunately, no curious people can just kind of wander in and buy a ticket this year. So at the end of the day, like that's still an issue. So if you do get in the main hotel, you may have to wait on the thing a little bit. Interestingly, I think it would take me just as long to walk back to my hotel room. So the interesting thing about the One King, if you ever are interested in going, and I don't know if this is standard in other hotel rooms in the area, but there's interesting rules regarding alcohol, and also like getting into hotel rooms. So the One King, very much so, had a main door, they had the main door, they had the lobby area, and then to get into the room area where the elevators are, you had to scan your room key card into the slot so that the glass doors would open, and I think it was at certain times of day mostly, and there was also a sign up there that says no alcohol beyond this point. So if you are a person who likes to do room parties at a con, try to avoid the One King. I didn't obviously, conventions are what you make of it. I didn't see it as a big room party convention. It was a very chill convention. I think like if you wanted a good party convention, Motor City FurCon was the next weekend. So I think many partiers were aiming at that one instead. But at the end of the day, like the South, if you get a room in the South Tower of the main hotel, it didn't seem like there was that much of a line for it. Though I think there were nicer rooms, so they were probably a little pricier, a little money, like little money, get money. Because I did get to see one of the rooms, and it was really nice. Like one of the furries in our sort of group had gotten that, so during the final night we got to hang out and do that, and the alarm went off, and apparently that's a tradition, and that should not be a tradition because that's rude. It's rude. You shouldn't do that at midnight. People are trying to sleep, damn it. So going back to the thing, fursuit. So that was sort of the hotel, sort of the layout, sort of things. So I guess the last thing I'll cover for the last few minutes here is the fursuit parade. I think the fursuit parade is definitely something that you should experience if you are a fursuiter. I think it actually rivals, being very honest here, it might actually beat Anthrocons. Even though Anthrocon is that's sort of their staple, to the point where they had a lot of trouble logistically the last few years. I think they're working on that this year. I think they're probably going to put some caps and some things on it. to kind of keep the line from getting too big, narrow it down to like, you know, to make it so that there's not too many people waiting in line, overheating, and things like that. But even so, Anthrocons, I did do it twice. I did do the parade going outside thing twice. I was even in the parade, I think, once before they went outside. So I do have some perspective on that. So I think I did the parade about 3 times for Anthrocon, twice outside, never with the block party. Like I kind of stopped going before the block party thing happened. I never really attended with the block party, so I don't have any experience with that. But from my experience with Anthrocon's parade, it is very much a parade, and it is very much organized, and it's very much stay in line, keep in line, like don't shove, don't move past each other, like move together like in pairs, and you stay with your pair partner, and like the people in front of you and the people behind you don't change all that much. There's one divide, which is if you don't want to go outside, go this way. If you want to go outside, go this way. And basically not going outside basically shortens your parade experience basically. I'll say this, like so there is a option for a very short route in Anthrocon. So if you want to do a parade but don't want to go too hard with it, it's a good opportunity. Furnal Equinox was interesting. And at first I didn't quite know what to make of it and kind of was like, this is a little bit weird. But as it got going and where it went, I was like, okay, I can really dig this. This is actually extremely unique and extremely freeing. And that was, so basically what ended up happening is there's a convention center that's like in the inside of the last block of the harbor. So basically it's across the street from the Castle Hotel, which is the main hotel. And there's like a harbor, there's like a boardwalk harbor behind that hotel. So basically you have your building here, you have your block, your convention center here, you have the building, the harbor building or hotel up here, and then you have the harbor itself with like a boardwalk access area on this side. Like, so if you go out of the building towards that and then go up in that way, you'll end up to the boardwalk, and then the boardwalk goes down like a few blocks and then comes back, and then you can come back to the hotel at that point. And about here, back a few blocks, like here where the boardwalk sort of went back to meet the main street, there was an option to go even further, or there's an option to go back. Now, for me, like, I'm getting old, so I had enough. I was like, okay, I don't want to get lost in the city in my fursuit, so I'm going to go back towards the hotel, which is like 4 blocks that way. So I decided to take the short route, which wasn't short. It was pretty lengthy. It was pretty lengthy anyway. The thing that was really cool about it was it started out a little clustered. It started out a little rough. It started out with a lot of stop and go because you leave the convention center and you're following the sidewalk to the street, which has the crosswalks, right? So you have to wait for the crosswalk, for an L shape to get up to the boardwalk. But once you hit that boardwalk, like, there is like, people will move fast. If you want to walk fast, you can walk fast. If you want to walk slow, you can walk slow. If you want to stomp around on the grass, dance around a tree, stop and take photos with people who are interested in that kind of thing. You can do that, which is completely freeing from a lot of different furry sort of parades that I've experienced. A lot of times the furry, like, very much like, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, keep waving, keep moving, keep waving. And obviously I had that habit down, so I did a lot of that, but still, like, it was like, if you wanted to stop and, like, if there was a friend over there or a friend over there and you wanted to stop and chit chat for a bit and then get back to walking, you could do that, right? You could take a picture with with your group of friends on the boardwalk and like let the other people who are parading pass you. So it went from sort of a parade and to a fursuit parade to sort of a fursuit slight commune kind of a thing. So it wasn't like a street. It wasn't like the street party, which I haven't experienced, as I noted. But it very much felt like there's a sort of like commune thing going on, which I should probably experience that before too long at Anthrocon to see how much the street party might have shifted it in that direction. But if it shifted it in that direction, I think it is definitely what was absolutely needed, kind of a thing. So I really enjoyed that. But obviously, like, the issue with carrying the fursuit with me, I did have the laundry bag, so like I could just take the fursuit, put it in, put it out, but I'd have to carry it around me for the rest of the day, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. So, I left the con a little bit earlier than I normally did on Saturday. The funny part, though, was when I was walking back up to my hotel that night at about like 10 o'clock, everyone else, every other furry was moving towards the hotel that I was moving away from. And it caused some traffic issues on Jung Street. Like, the Jung Street is the street that goes from my hotel down to the harbor. And the cars, man, like... There's a lot of honking, and I'm like, oh man, I know I'm in a city. Now I know I'm in a major metro area, and it's like never at any other time during the weekend had the road been that busy. Like, it's busy, but it's not like cars like just like lining up the street busy. Like, so I knew and as soon as I got back to my hotel, I saw exactly what was happening. The people who were at the hotels, the people who were at like the One King and the other hotels in the upper block were basically taking Ubers down to the convention, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going the opposite way of everybody, and it's like, but still, like, it's walkable. It's a little nippy outside. It's a little nippy, a little wet, not too bad. It did end up snowing the last day there, which was interesting. So walking back to the hotel on the last night was an experience. I was in my sweater and like, it's it's snow. Oh, it's snow. My friend from South Carolina is like, oh God, this is awful. It's like, I'm used to it. This is not horrible. He did handle himself pretty well. They handled themselves pretty well, I should say. All things considered. It was a little slick, too. I was like, oh, gotta be careful. It's a little slick. Anyway, that's basically my review of it. Would I go again? Absolutely. I think it was, a very interesting experience. It was the foreign country next door, and the other interesting thing about it was like, you'd hear things in French every once in a while, and that was one of the cool one of the cool moments. Is like you had like three furries like near the ballroom. It was like in a table near the ballroom, and I was overhearing them talking. They were talking in French, and it's like "Je ne me but fursuit," and I'm like, "There's no French word for fursuit." I was like, I guess we'll have to come up with the French word for fursuit. Fursuity. We already know that was already used by an Australian for another reason, which was a previous video. You want Golden Gate for Con, I think it was. It was a few years ago. It was an interesting story. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Glad to have gone. Glad to have experienced it. It was definitely an interesting thing, and I got to hang out with a bunch of furries that I normally didn't for a while. So it was definitely needed. Helped me get my head out of my work a little bit. And so we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. Kick that like. kick a subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. If you went to Furnal Equinox in 2025, let me know what your experiences were. Thank you very much. Have a good one.